لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر. أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. ولما رأى المؤمنون الأحزاب قالوا هذا ما وعدنا الله ورسوله. قالوا هذا ما وعدنا الله ورسوله وصدق الله ورسوله. وصدق الله ورسوله وما زادهم إلا إيمانا وتسليما. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى منهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. صدق الله العظيم. You're muted still. You're muted.
Thank you so much. I almost didn't want to return back and have to speak because I could just literally sit all day. And as I'm listening to you, the trees outside the window are blowing and the wind chimes are blowing, and it was just a blissful moment. And it's just beautiful recitation that makes everything just melt away, right? It kind of makes us all forget it for a little while until you stop. So beautiful. So talk to us about the difference.
Well, okay, so Oh, just to clarify, by the way, I said I was in Bayati. I began and ended in Bayati. Normally, with either recitation or a song, you want to begin and end in the same maqam or musical mode that you began. So I began and ended in Bayati, but there was Hijaz in there for anybody who's really curious about getting deeper into maqamat. I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't 100% all Bayati. Um, so one of the main differences is that, like with Quranic recitation, every single sound has its due length, and it's very, very, very calculated and very specific. And there is definitely more liberty with Arabic singing. The rules are not nearly as rigid, and you can take a lot more liberty with the length of the vowels and things like that. But there are a lot of similarities, including, like I said, that the maqamat, there's a lot of similarities in the way that the voice, we ornament the different sounds. Um, and obviously, like I said before, the system of maqamat is similar. And there's even, like, even though the tarab singing is not as calculated, there are definitely certain similarities between, like, which letters are emphasized and how they're emphasized. Another thing I want to say quickly about that is, you know, when I first started listening to Arabic music and when I first started listening to Quran recitation, I had absolutely no idea what the words meant. But even then, you still are somehow transported. Um, and that is kind of proof to me that, like, sound is energy, sound is a vibration that has an effect on every part of us. We don't necessarily need to logically understand it in order for it to transport us, or in order for it to have a really great effect on us. I think that's just really interesting, and that shows how synonymous it is to spirituality, right? It's not something that's logical, it's something that's existential. You experience it. And I think that, you know, I won't get too opinionated here, but one opinion I do feel quite strongly about is that I think there's way too much emphasis nowadays, not only in the Muslim world, but in you know, a lot of religions and spiritual paths. There's a lot of emphasis on, you know, like gaining knowledge from people, from people's interpretations, from reading books, and not so much emphasis on getting knowledge from our own experiences and learning from those experiences, which allows us to go inside of ourselves. And that's real knowledge, because that's knowledge of the self. You know, it's not according to somebody else who has interpreted something, who has grown up in a completely different context from you. So that's something that I is kind of an ongoing theme in my line of thinking right now, and I hope that people can see my point.
I think absolutely there's no way that they can't, because of the fact that the whole world has gone under this lockdown during this pandemic. SubhanAllah, we have only this time to sit down and learn our deen and learn our faith, whichever way you're studying from wherever you are. That feeling that our faith, our shared faith, is universal, is even more, I feel, even more defined during this time. So what you said is so perfectly in line with that. And then your example by reciting the Quran and by everyone collectively, whether you understand it or not, everyone collectively felt the movement. We felt every vow that you hung on to. And it's just, like I said, it's just a feeling of God speaking to you, even you think you don't understand, but you do. It's like your body understands this is from God. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
All right,
so I'm really curious to hear more in-depth detail on that, and then kind of to take us into the magical regions of Africa that you have so in-depthly been in tune with your music and with your artistic journey that you've been on.
Oh well, sorry. First, I was going to I'm going to sing Yagarat al Wadi, and then we can do that. So this is actually a song composed by Muhammad Abdul Wahab, and I heard Noor al Huda. She did it a cappella, and I loved her version of it. Um, so I'm going to do it a cappella right now, and this is just an example to hear the similarities. And I think a lot of the listeners and a lot of the audience members, especially those who don't speak Arabic fluently, will definitely hear the similarities. So if I can remember, so I was in Bayati, which is da 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 da. So I said أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. That's a recitation, the beginning of a recitation in Maqam Bayati. Now I'm going to sing the song, and you can try to listen if you can hear that it's in the same maqam and has the similar ornamentations, structures, linguistic details, etc., etc. يا جارة الوادي طربت وعادني ما يشبه الأحلام من ذكراك يا جارة الوادي طربت وعادني ما يشبه الأحلام من ذكراك مثلت في الذكرى هواك وفي الكرى والذكريات صدى السنين الحاكي ولقد مررت على الرياض ولقد مررت على الرياض ولقد مررت على الرياض بربواتي غناء كنت حيالها ألقاك لم أدر ما طيب العناق على الهوى حتى ترافق سعيدي فتواك لا ما أدري لا ما أدري لا ما أدري ما طيب العناق على الهوى حتى ترافق سعيدي فطواك وتأودت تعاطف بنيك في يدي وأحمر من خفرايه ما أخذ دواكي ودخلت في العيلين فراك والدوقة ولثمت كالصبح المنور فاكي وتعطلت لغة الكلام وخاطبت عيني في لغة الهوى عيناك لأمس من عمر الزمان ولا غد قم زمان فكان يوم رضاك. That's it.
MashaAllah, mashallah. If I was a brother, I would have, asked for a takbir. But that was really beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. All the things that they would shout out.
Did you hear the similarities?
I did, and I could hear the similarities, and then I could hear also the differences. And I can't, and I would never be able to choose my favorite. They're all just so beautiful, and I love that we're having a lesson right now. Like, I hope you guys are enjoying this. We're having a lesson right now in recitation, and we're learning terms that some of us may have never learned before. So this is really such a treat to have today during this time. So talk to us a little bit about what you would go through. Do you decide kind of which style is your favorite, and then you focus on mastering that style, or do you try to maybe have a list of styles that you master and you become like this grandmaster of styles?
I no, like, I mean, I guess I'm always focused at any certain point in my life. I've always been like, I'm either focused on this or that. At the moment, to be perfectly honest, I haven't been like working that hard on recitation. I did go through a period where I was focused totally on learning recitation. I started learning a lot of recitation in the style of Shahat, who is like, he's a brilliant reciter. And his son as well. Like, they're really amazing in every way. I didn't get through I got about 20 minutes through a 40-minute recitation of his. And that was the recitation that I actually did was actually, as I mentioned, Shahat recitation. And yes, you definitely, like, if I were to recommend like a technique, I would definitely say it's better to stick with one, and I would definitely not start with Shahat because his breaths are so long, his range is so wide, his voice is so supple and flexible and powerful all at the same time. So I think my favorite reciter to imitate for those reasons is Minshawi. That's just literally just a personal preference. I find his tajweed to be super clear and easy to imitate, which is not the case with Shahat sometimes. Just because when everything is so elaborately done, it's harder to really focus on the tajweed aspect of it. So for that reason, Menshawi, his voice and also the way that he modulates throughout the maqamat and the musical modes, it's very structured to the point that if you listen to Menshawi enough, you will literally start to be able to predict what he's going to do next. And that's actually where you want to get at. Like, that's the because when you start to to understand it in that depth, that's when you're able to kind of start to create your own recitations and apply all of these rules and all of these things that you've absorbed into your system, into your brain, into your blood, into your emotions. That's when you can then have the freedom to, you know, create based off of that. Um, yeah. And also another thing that I just wanted to mention quickly, a lot of like I was told once, for example, that like maqamat is like haram or something. And I know that people have this idea, but like that's if you really think about it, it's impossible because whenever somebody's reciting, by default, they're going to be reciting in a maqam, whether you call it a maqam or not. Even when you're listening to reciters reciting pretty straight, there's always some kind of a structure that they're following, a melodic structure, because that is what is beautiful, right? And if we're reciting in a beautiful manner, it's going to have some sort of melodic structure, whether you describe it in those terms or in another way. So even if I were to say like أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. It's very straight, but that's still in a maqam, you know. So that's some.
Sometimes definition, I think, is a problem for people, or just understanding what something actually means and the term, and taking it the way that it should be taken literally. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Even so basically what that means is just the style that you're using to fluctuate your voice and your vowels and stuff while you're reciting the words. And so trying to do that with beauty, and for our young people to strive to memorize and to memorize with beauty, it's how can you recite these words and not strive to do this in a beautiful, poetic way? How could you not? Like, these are words from Allah. Like, there's just no way that we cannot do that in beauty. And I don't understand how that could be haram, to recite the words of the Quran in beauty. Don't understand that. What a world, but inshallah people will learn.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the danger is letting the like the systematic kind of, the, how can I say this, like the, when somebody gets to a really high level of recitation, I guess the danger is like letting that high level kind of like take over the intention. But that's more of a battle between the reciter, like a personal battle between the reciter and themselves and their relationship with the Quran and their relationship with the divine. So that's not so much an external thing as like an internal thing. It's not our concern. Like, if something is beautiful and somebody wants to share that beauty, alhamdulillah, you know. But yeah, I can understand the danger, but that danger lies in everything that we do, not only in recitation.
It's all about that balance that the Prophet ﷺ has always imposed on us as his ummah, that anything that you're doing for the sake of Allah, that you have to do it in moderation. You can't neglect the rest of your life and your responsibilities just to focus on that. And then to let that intentions get lost. Sometimes people let their intentions get lost. So they may start out and they're like, I'm doing this for the sake of Allah, and I'm doing this so I can teach these children how to do this, and I want to make a school, and then they may get really famous from it or something like that, and then completely go off on the other track and lose sight of all those benefits that they had originally started with. And so that's all of humanity. That's a struggle, I think, across, no matter what your social background or your economic status is, no matter where you come from, everybody has like that inner jihad with everything that they do, especially if it's something that you're talented at. And that's where the devil can kind of come in and take over your talent and turn it into something bad instead of being a good thing. So we all, inshallah, make dua to protect us from this. But I am so happy that this is your talent and that this is something that you share with people. And I love that you share it. It inspires so many to want to get more involved in the deep knowledge of the recitation of the Quran, like as an art form, because that is something that's so beautiful, and it really just allows our ummah to shine in another way that it should be able to shine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Um,
your journey into this and your, you know, your deep knowledge, when you got more involved in Africa and when you were also like so involved in Morocco and in that culture, and then you started to study these other people who were reciters, and talk to me a little bit about your, you know, what your journey was like in that and how that inspired you and what made you even think about following these different Quran reciters, and how did that happen?
okay. Oops, got frozen. That's okay. So, African music and my journey to Morocco and all of that was kind of something that happened simultaneously to Arabic music, but at the same time, they're very, very different. I first heard like Gnawa music. That's what I'm going to be talking about mainly when I was in Montreal studying. So I got accustomed to Arabic music and also North African music at the same time. I would say North African music is much more focused on the rhythmic aspects. It's much more rhythmic, and also the mode or maqam that a lot of African music is in is called what we call the pentatonic scale. Um, so going back to maqamat, like if you wanted to visualize like the different maqamat, the reason why there are so many maqams is because if you were to look on a piano, you can't play maqamat on a normal piano because normally there should be notes in between the white and black keys. So between a white and black key is the smallest interval that we generally use in Occidental music, in Western music, but in Arabic music, Turkish and Persian music as well, and probably a lot more, but I'm not really knowledgeable enough about that. But there would be notes in between the notes. So that creates like a much less limited palette um, to draw from. But then the pentatonic scale, that is actually, they've proven scientifically that the pentatonic scale is the most natural scale of all of them. So, like, if you were to take a bunch of people who don't know anything about scales or modes or anything, like the most natural thing for them to sing would be the pentatonic scale, which is if you were to only play black keys on a piano. So it's da 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 da. That's a pentatonic scale. So yes, those are two characteristics of North African music, and I guess a lot of music around the world. Um, so like for example, actually there are some reciters, African reciters I've heard who recite in the pentatonic scale, and you can definitely feel the difference in the styles of recitation. So like if I were to take Ayatul Kursi in a pentatonic scale, it would sound something like this. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بخلق. Sorry, I'm but anyways, you get the point. Something like this. Um, I'm trying to hurry up a little bit because I just noticed the time it's running.
So you prepared a really wonderful slideshow kind of presentation or a
Yes,
PowerPoint. Would you like to share that with us?
yes. I'm going to do a screen share. For people watching on Instagram, I'm sorry, you guys, but you won't be able to see this screen share. You'll be able to hear the music though. Let's see. Okay. So this is not a North African musician. This is actually the man that got me interested in Oud in the first place. And that was before I was Muslim, but ironically, he's a Sufi. He's a Sufi musician. Um, so I'm going to play two short clips of him. His name is Hamza El-Din. He comes from a region called Nubia, which is like, I guess, in between Egypt and Sudan. In the first one, I in the first song I'm going to show, I'm just going to show 30 seconds or so, but he's speaking in his language, but he's using Arabic style maqamat, which is really interesting. Then in the second clip, I will show you he's speaking Arabic, but using the pentatonic scale. So he like switched them up, if that makes sense. This is one of my favorite musicians, by the way.
السرمسو كالبترسو جمن دول سوغا جلا فينا السرمسو غمرتي توتا كالبترسو غفنتي توتا جمن دول سو جلا فينا جلا فينا جلا فينا السرمسو
So as you can maybe hear, he's in a maqam, he's using quarter tones, but he's singing in what I assume is the Nubian language. I'm sorry if I'm getting any of this wrong. So this is another style of his, and this song, I believe, is mostly in Arabic, but you'll hear how it's like actually using the pentatonic scales and it's more rhythmic.
كتير سألت عليك غسلت وجيت علشان ألاقيك كتير سألت عليك غسلت وجيت علشان ألاقيك يا الشاغل بالك سهر الليالي والشوق.
So that's all I'm going for the sake of time. That's all I'm going to share of this musician.
We just so you know, like share as much as you like and take as much time as you like, and we won't worry about that.
Great, it's awesome. So I mean, I wish I knew. Honestly, I wish I knew more like African Sufi music, but um, I just chose him in particular because he's literally the reason like I bought an ouds all those years ago. He really inspired me, and then coming back to him after all of this time, after like knowing Arabic music, Islam, and having gotten into other musical genres in the African continent, it's like it has a different vibe now. It's like I can understand a bit where the context of his music. Um, so, and again, like another reason I'm sharing that is to just show how music can be a device for us to not only express ourselves but to become closer to the divine and to get the energy flowing. Even in some of Hamza el-Din's songs, you can hear in the recording he says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim before he starts playing, which I think is so beautiful. So then the next thing I'm going to talk about is Ginawa. As I said, I got interested in Ginawa music while living in Montreal. Um, and Gnawa, basically, it's most famous now in Morocco, but it actually has origins from West Africa. So there's three main people where Gnawa originates from. It's not all of them, but it makes up a large majority of Gnawa. These are Hausa people, the Fula people, and Bambara. Hausa, Fula, and Bambara. There are three tribes that they migrated for different reasons. Some were enslaved, some migrated for, just trade, some migrated for other reasons. It's a total mixture, but that's how this ended up in Morocco. And then it also ended up mingling with Moroccan culture and other Moroccan musical styles. And another thing to remark is that Gnawa is a culture in itself. Um, and so basically, the purpose of having a Gnawa ritual, which is called Gnawa Layla, um, it's a very long, normally it's really long, and it's basically used for the purpose of healing energy. Something I find so interesting with Gnawa music is that they go through each color. They have a system of colors that they follow for every ritual, and they play musical pieces and musical sequences according to each color. Um, and another connection I make when I think about this is like the chakras. For example, the chakras are associated with the different points in the body, different points where energy vibrates in the body. And each chakra is also associated with a different color and with a different sound. So, things like this are not coincidental, in my opinion. Um, but that's something to also ponder upon sometimes. Um, and another thing to remark about it is, regardless of whatever one's beliefs are, you can't deny that, like, trance music, and basically this is the idea of Genawa, is to get into a state of trance. Trance music is in every single culture, like every culture across the world. Every single group of people has its own version of trance music. In Gnawa music, you will use a combination of sounds, colors, people are dancing. You have the constant rhythm of the krakesh. Um, there's also incense. Like, all of these sensations are happening all at once, and ultimately the purpose is to bring you to a higher state, like to another plane. Um, and I actually had the pleasure of I was really, really blessed to be able to attend one of these Laylas, and it was something I'd never seen before, and it was something I'd never experienced before either. Um, so I'm actually going to show first. I'm going to show some pictures of what this looks like, and then I'm going to show two clips of a Gnawa Layla, Gnawa ritual. Um, I'll start over here. So these are, this is the krakesh. That's the rhythm that's in all Gnawa songs. This is called a gimbri or a hajhuj, and I believe there are many other names for it, which I don't know all of them. I only know two. And the person who's holding the gimbri and singing is called the ma'allim. And then, he's basically leading the music during one of these rituals. He's another ma'allim. This is a female ma'allim. Because there's recently been a surge of female Gnawa musicians in Morocco, which I find amazing. So this would be a ma'allim, and all of the people, the other guys in the group around him. and as I said, there's a lot of dancing involved. A lot of the times, especially in shows, they use a lot of these types of acrobatic moves. So yeah, now I'm going to just share. This is actually off of one of my friend's channels. He's a ma'allim. So I'm going to share And so that's one. This is something else that's similar. They blurred out the woman dancing because she probably didn't want anyone to see her dancing. All right, so that's all I'm going to actually share for as far as Ginawa is on my screen. How do I stop? Okay, stop share. Sorry. So that was just an example of a Ginawa Leila and the people dancing in front of the musicians. They're basically like getting into a state of trance. I don't know if anybody has any questions about it. I would try to do my best to answer. I can't hear.
So, okay.
Oops. All right, she's frozen. Wait a second for her to come out. Come back. Anybody else have any questions while waiting for Nicole? All right, well, I guess I'll just move on by myself here. So now I'm actually going to I cannot play the hejhuj. That instrument is really, really like difficult. It's you have to be extremely strong to play it. But I'm actually going to play a Ganawa song that I learned on my oud. This song is called Aisha Hamdoushia, and it's normally in a Ganawa ritual. This one is associated with the color black. And this is actually originally like a Moroccan song. which got kind of mixed in with Ginawa culture. So in general, Ginawa culture is extremely mixed. You know, as I said, it comes from comes from those three main tribes in Africa, but it also like mixed with a lot of Moroccan music as well. Hi, Nicole. You came back. Were you gonna ask me a question about Ginawa?
I was going to ask you to bring out the ode in your voice. So thank you so much for getting that mental message that I sent you.
On the same wavelength. Yeah, so like I said, this is actually a Moroccan song that mixed in with Ginawa culture, and it is in the Arabic dialect. So that was Aisha Hamdoushia.
That was beautiful. Really, thank you so much. And you're so talented with the instrument too. How long did it take you to learn to play the oud?
I mean, learning is always an ongoing process. I'm definitely not like a specialist on I don't usually consider myself like a professional oud player. It's more of just an accompaniment for me. Um, but I started learning in, I guess, it was 2010. So yeah, I've been playing it for a while, but I wouldn't say I've like, hankered down and like really studied it. Um, but yeah, so that was actually that's a sad song, but it also has like, I don't know if you could hear, it goes back to Fla Rjaya. In Darija, that means to God I'll return. Rjaya. Um, so like it's basically somebody who's speaking about all of his hardships and saying like, uh this happened to me and they made me suffer so much, but in the end I go back to Allah. So it's one of my favorite Ganawa songs, but it's also a very sad song. You could probably like feel that in the music. So that's all I'm going to discuss for the Ginawa and the African music. um yeah, I do you have any other questions about that?
So I am waiting to see if there's maybe one or two questions from the audience. But I really love that you shared that with us, and thank you for presenting. Also, so that we got to see. I love what you said about that Allah gave us all of these senses that we have, like of sight and sound, and even the senses inside. Um, so I love that you were showing us that throughout so many different faiths, people use those senses just to kind of bring out a spirituality inside themselves. And I think that's really beautiful. And I think that you have shown us a way that Muslims can do that just through reciting the Quran, and that it gives you a whole new connection with your faith, for sure. So thank you for sharing that with us. Do we have any questions from the audience that you guys want to share with me on my device so that I can read them out for her? We'll see if we have one or two questions, and I won't take any more of your time if we don't. Okay, so what is the link, Jennifer, between the music and the maqamat in the Quran?
In what sense?
Between what you were explaining to us before, what is the link between music in the Quran through those different styles that you were teaching us about?
Oh, I mean, like,
this is the question that we received, so I would explain it in more depth if it was my question.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the person is talking about like historically, maybe like how each one like manifested. To be honest, I don't know that. I think that Tarab music, like classical Arabic music, more so came out of the style of recitation with maqamat. I'm pretty sure that's how that evolved, and not the other way around. Like I don't think it was that music came and then it was introduced to the Quran. That from what I've heard, from what I remember, learning about this topic, I'm pretty sure it was like Quran recitation evolved into this style and evolved into the development of maqamat, and then it transferred into music. But again, I'm not 100% sure on that, so please don't take my word for it.
Okay, no problem. And then the spiritual aspect, how are these things spiritually connected?
Okay, in this, well, like I said, at the end of the day, there are sounds, there are vibrations. We can't see them, but they have an effect on every single part of our being, on our emotions, on our, like we can't even, my hands are still, but actually what's happening is they're vibrating. There's electricity going through us. We're conductors of electricity. We're like 70% of made of water or something like that. And this is all part of the unseen, actually. it's not just talking about, you know, shaitan and the angels and Jannah and Jahannam and these types of things. It's also literally like we have science now to explain to us like what is happening on so many different levels, and that's also like, in my opinion, it's all part of the unseen and all part of our awareness. And spirituality is all about developing that awareness. And so I guess like when you let these sound waves, these vibrations just like into your being without judgment, without your ego, and you just kind of let it take you over, like both of these things have the ability to. One is more emotional, more of a way of communicating one's emotions. This is art and music in general. And while Quran recitation is an art also, I think people relate to it more based on their understanding of spirituality, and based on prior understanding, based on their interpretations of the word, based on their interpretations of God. So one is more, you know, directly like understood as like a divine portal, and another is understood kind of as a way to communicate the human experience. But on some level, their goal is ultimately the same, if that makes sense.
It does. I wonder if there's some spiritual advice you could give to young people in our audience that are watching to help them. What if someone watches this and they say, "I didn't even know there was this whole other realm of our faith and our deen and our ability to connect with Allah," and now you've opened up this whole realm for them through the art of music and the art of just being in touch with the audio sense of taking the Quran in through vibration and through these senses in your body. How can a young person begin that journey or start to develop that side of their spirituality?
I think it would. I mean, I don't want to give any like wrong advice.
Where could they start? Where is an easy way for them to start this appreciation that you have?
Well, I mean, our senses have the ability to heal us on so many different levels. In a lot of ways, I believe that everybody in some way has gone through some sort of trauma and something that they are either consciously or unconsciously trying to heal from. And I think that sound is so powerful, and sound has the ability to heal us from the inside out, like without us really having to do anything, just by listening to, you know, just like ambient tracks, or like the Native American flute, or like, I don't know, like meditation music, and of course the Quran is a given, just like being able to listen and internalize those sounds which make you feel peaceful. It's, you know, it's healing, and when we're healed, that's when we have better clarity and better awareness, better connection to Allah. And beyond that, you know, all art forms are similar in that way. And for me, truly, I believe that everybody is an artist, whether they realize it or not. And for me, being an artist is synonymous to being a spiritual seeker, because it's all about doing things with intention. It's all about doing things with our hearts. Of course, there are artists out there who, you know, they call themselves artists, but they, you know, are not producing anything authentic, and it's pretty obvious. You can make the distinctions for yourselves. But I'm not gonna get into that, but I just think that art and expression and communication in these different mediums is so important for us to understand ourselves, and then to communicate that to the outside worlds. Because another thing is that, like, so we are all connected. Spirituality isn't something individual. Even the Prophet ﷺ, he was always focused on social justice and the social aspects. How am I relating to the people around me? How can I make my environment better for the people around me? And I think we've really lost that. Like, even though it's so obvious, right? It sounds so obvious when we say it, but we don't know how to do that anymore. And you know, when I play music, when I sing, and when I listen to music, when I look at beautiful pieces of arts, it softens my heart in very much, you know, the same way that the Quran does, and that people talk about they're seeking to soften their hearts. Well, that's a way. That's just another way.
Thank you so much for that. That is a beautiful answer. And I hope that our audience, I hope that you guys felt that. Jennifer, you have a special song that you have prepared. And would you be able to perform
Yes.
some of that or all of that, whatever you have time for? And since this is your own creation, you know, they will not be recorded.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, so I've started to compose my own music. It's still recording, so I'll just wait till the recording button goes off. If they can just, yeah, if they can just stop the recording, it still says that it's recording.
The recording for your song.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Well, yeah, I mean, composing and creating, that's another thing. It's very much like an internal journey.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of have to like watch your emotions and fully experience them at the same time. And that's something that has been a real blessing in quarantine, because as I said in the beginning, all of the distractions have just gone away. And like given the opportunity to just sit down and create. And I guess my music has like a lot of different influences. Like there's a lot of people who I've showed my songs to, who are close to me, they say they can hear the Gnawa in it, North African rhythms and English words. Yeah.
Oh, there I go again. I need to get used to this mute unmute button. I think that's really interesting. And now that I feel like we've all kind of learned how to listen for these things in the music, it's like now when we listen to our favorite reciters and stuff, we're all going to try to listen for those different styles. And even in this song that you present, maybe everybody can try to listen in and see if they can hear that. So they may be just running into a little problem getting that recording to stop so that we can hear this original song, guys. We really hope this can work for us. So can we use the style of recitations in the Quran in music? So that's a question someone, you know, while we were waiting for that we could answer real quick. So in music itself, could we incorporate the styles of recitation of the Quran into music? Like say you have an original song coming out, would that be something that would work?
I personally wouldn't do it. Just I mean, I would never like take the Quran and like put it to music, and just because.
What about the style of reciting Quran? Could you use that to write a song? Maybe not the words themselves.
Okay, yeah, well, that's already exists, right? Like what I was explaining, like that's basically what Arabic classical music is. And that's what I like kind of demonstrated in the beginning. So that definitely already exists. If the question was more related to like, can you actually take Quran and like set it to music? I think that would stir too many issues within the community.
We'd be in
So
big trouble. We've seen that recently where somebody had a piece of the Quran in a like a rap song or something, and they got nailed. So
yeah,
yeah, definitely
yeah,
we wouldn't put the
no,
Quran
it's
itself, but maybe the
actual,
recitation style. Yeah. So yeah, and what you taught us is that rhythmic style of elongating vowels and in different ways and variations that does exist in music, and that it's neat that we have that in the Quran, like to and that's something that we're humanly kind of trained to be used to or to find beauty in. So it all goes together. That's really wonderful.
yeah.
So, if you guys are ready, if our team is ready for her to play her original song, we'll get that started since we've answered those questions. And we are so happy, Jennifer, that you have been able to do this for us
Yeah,
and to share with us.
sure.
It's just such a treat for everybody that's been watching the council's videos and stuff for so long. They have these on a regular basis, these lectures and stuff. So today is something special to share with everyone, just sharing in an art form. So we're excited that you were able to do that. Okay, they're saying there's just one more question and then they would be able to get that recording turned off. So that's really great. And the question is, there's a music in all the feelings and stuff that we have. And it's very important because it directs our souls. And so that is, I think, something that we all relate to, that music, or even something that you feel like when I hear you reciting Quran, for instance, I know for me, it just almost makes me want to go grab the Quran and just kind of dive in. It just sparks inspiration in your soul. Sometimes music maybe could spark your soul to go in a different direction. Do you have some thoughts to share on how music directs your soul?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing with music is it for sure affects our emotions, and it affects, like I've been saying, I mean, all sounds affect us on so many levels. So it's something that, yeah, I mean, music that could definitely potentially have the opposite effect. Um, it could definitely have, some music, if paired like with the right words and the right messages, they could be used for not so good things as well. They can pull us into, for example, like, just feeling depressed, or like it can almost like manifest if we let it, and if we're not aware of this, it can almost manifest into us feeling emotions that can sometimes be negative, which weren't actually there in the first place. So that's something I definitely think that we need to be very aware of and very careful of. But it's like anything. There's really a good side and a bad side with most things in life. um, but I
You're
definitely,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
you're
So
right
we need
about
to be careful, but it can also be, as I've been saying through this whole thing, an incredible tool, a way to heal ourselves, a way to communicate, a way to resolve trauma. For example, they say to write a letter and then burn it. Like um, if you're trying to get over somebody, I've heard this method, like write a letter to them and then burn it. You could also
or
just write
delete that
a song.
comment before you post it, right? With
Yeah.
everyone's online life.
Yeah.
Delete comment or slide into their DMs and then delete everything before you send it.
Yeah. And you can do that with music as well. Like you can just write a song, just, or write a poem, or paint a picture, or whatever it is, just that's uninhibited, like with no ego involved, no thinking, is this good or bad, no thinking about who's gonna see it, who's gonna like it, who's not gonna like it. Just let it all out, and without the intention of needing to share it, or anything. It's just like, this is me, this is you, this is all of my feelings in this one package. And it's just like a release, and it can help us resolve things that were unresolved. you know there's so many benefits.
Okay, so I think they are saying that they are able to let us get started on your original song, and I'm so glad that you're willing to share it with us.
Just waiting for that recording button to
Yeah,
go.
me too. Me too. And I know this team is
Has
working hard.
Yeah, I think everybody in the meeting would have to press stop recording because as I see, even me, I
Oh,
have.
there we go. On my
Yeah.
end, it's gone. Yay! Thank you, team, for working hard for that.
So this is actually the words of the chorus. I think I'm eventually going to change. This is just a disclaimer that the words are from an Incubus song, like just the first words. So now you can see like the diversity in my my thinking.
I
It's
love
like
it.
the
I love
oud
it.
with Genoa with the African rhythms, English lyrics, and started with an Incubus song. So sorry, my computer just went off. Further down the river, further down the river, further down the river, further down the river. Love is our endeavor, and God is our desire. Further down the river. Don't look back at what you found, for there's no easy way to drown. Rocks are only in disguise, but currents they don't tell no lies. If we stop now, we'll just be late. Destiny can't be delayed. What we fear is what's at stake, so let's continue on and pray. Further down the river, further down the river, further down the river. Further down the river, further down the river. Love is our endeavor, and God is our desire. Further down the river. We've been loved and we've been wrong. We've been free and we've been armed. We've given birth and been reborn. We've smelled the rose and felt the thorn. See it through, let's see it through. Believe the angels wait for you. Let our souls be like the sun. Our rivers lead back to the one. Further down the river, further down the river, further down the river. Further down the river, further down the river. Love is our endeavor, and God is our desire. Further down the river, 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 further down the
Mashallah, thank you so much for that. Jennifer, thank you so much. That was just so beautiful, and you're so talented at playing that instrument too. I know you said you're not a professional, but according to my world, you are.
Thank you so much.
Jennifer, it has been such a treat to host you on here. We really appreciate it and all of the knowledge that you bring. And thank you for helping us to all open our eyes to this whole other section of our beautiful faith that has to do with the arts and with music. And I just hope that everybody else felt the warmth and the beauty that you were projecting onto that.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. So we will conclude the lecture for today. Although this was not a lecture, it was. And I hope that you guys all enjoyed it as much as we did. And a big special thank you for Jennifer for you even letting us kind of push the time back a little bit. And I hope that everyone here stayed with us and that you got to enjoy that original piece that she shared with us just now. And I want to thank you to the World Muslim Communities Council for all the hard work that you guys do putting together content to share with everyone and bring all of us together as one. It's really beautiful, and we appreciate all the team that's behind that, that's doing that for everybody on a regular basis. So make sure you come back to this site, follow them on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube. I think they even have a TikTok. So make sure you guys follow them and keep coming back for more great content. Jennifer, assalamu alaikum to you.
Okay, thank you, Nico. Have a good day.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thanks for
Hopefully it worked out.